Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. I'm so glad you're all here because this is a subject that I've been wanting to talk about for a really long time, and I'm so happy to be able to share some of the things that I learned with all of you. So thank you for being here. If you're new, my name is Elise and I grew up in upstate New York, and when I was 17 I studied abroad in Switzerland as a gap year. And then I went back to the States for university, and in my last term I moved to Ireland for an internship and I took some online classes. And then I had a 6-month period in New York before moving permanently to Switzerland. I literally cannot sit still. I have such itchy feet, but it's fine, and it's led me on such a great journey. And through all three of those experiences, I had different motivations for why I went where I did. And you know, the first time was to broaden my horizons and to have some, you know, cultural exposure. The second was to get some work experience and finish my degree. And the last was for love, because when I was in the gap year, I met a really great guy, and I decided that after 4 years of long distance, enough is enough, and well, we decided to get married. And now I've been living here in Switzerland for almost 2 years, so it's been great. And throughout all those experiences, there have been some, I guess, common themes or common experiences that I've had. And if you're considering moving abroad for any sort of reason, I think that that is a true calling, and I totally recommend it. I have absolutely no regrets. But we're gonna be having a really honest chat here today, and I'm gonna tell it like it is of some of the harder side of that big move, because I think it's important to hear, you know, the good with the bad. And so thank you for being here. If you want to know more about my journey, I will link my playlist to other abroad themed videos, and if you could subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. So I have a list here of 6 things that I think you should know before you move abroad. So let's dive right in. Number 1 is that visas are expensive and complicated. It really shocks me every time I've gone to get a visa. There are so many steps, there's so much red tape, you have to have all your ducks in a row, and every time you meet or call them or give them something that they ask for, they require a fee. Like, it is so annoying and it's really frustrating. When I came here on a fiance visa, I had to pay over $600 in America to apply and put the application in, and then when we arrived here I had to pay $600 again to get our like immigrant marriage license confirmation. So it was a lot. It's not to be taken lightly. It's not something you can just like, oh, just throw that application in the mail and see what happens. It's appointments. It's making sure that you have everything that you need. I needed a federal background check, for all 50 states. It was so complicated to find. So, I mean, it really does take a bit of time and money to get your visas sorted. So keep that in mind, because it's right at the beginning and it can be kind of discouraging. But hang in there, because if it's meant to be, it will be. And as many times as you're willing to call them and ask the questions that you need to, I've always found that there's someone eventually that will have the answer. The second thing that I think you should know is that you usually have to register that once you've arrived in the new country, and this part is so tedious. Like, getting your passport stamped at the airport is not enough. You usually have to go to an office, show them all of your paperwork, say, hey, I'm here, and then they give you a new ID. There's probably another fee. It often takes a very long time. When I was in Ireland, it was a whole day thing. I was sat in this room, I had to go through like multiple lines. But you do it one day and then it's over. You have your ID for the remainder of the time that you're there, and it's sorted, but it's a pain in the butt. It really is. And here, when I came to Switzerland, I had to have all these different appointments, and it was really helpful that I had Hendrik, because he helped me translate and the appointments and get through all the steps. But if you don't have someone locally that can help you navigate all of it, like, don't worry, you can totally do it on your own. But if you can find a friend, that definitely is helpful. Point number 3 that I want to talk about today is probably one of the more shocking parts of living abroad that I never anticipated. And maybe there are people that grew up in like bilingual households that experience this as well. Like, I've read a couple articles that confirm that I'm not the only one that feels this. But when you're, you know, immersed in a new culture and a new language, and you start to learn that language, there are certain limitations that you have. And even as you keep growing and keep learning, it takes a very long time to reach a point where you feel like you're yourself while you're speaking that language. And even still, you almost develop like a second personality in the second language. Like in my case, when I speak English, I'm very outspoken, I'm very bold and opinionated, and I crack a lot of jokes. And when I'm speaking in German, I'm very shy, I'm very timid, I hang back, I wait for my husband to speak, which I'm not like that at all in English. So a lot of it is just down to brass tacks of not knowing the vocabulary or understanding the language. And there's this other part that I never expected to feel. Like, Elise Bray is one thing, and then Elise Fischer, this new woman that I'm becoming, is this German speaking Swiss wife, is like, I don't know, it's like a weird split. You may not experience this because maybe your language skills are stronger than mine, or your relationships with the people around you aren't affecting your standing as much. I don't know. This may happen, this may not happen, but I have personally really been like shocked by how much it's affected my life. And I do think that there are some positives to it. It's definitely helped me to slow down, to not have such emotional reactions because I have to like take a beat to translate. But at the same time, like, my best friends here in Switzerland are people that I often speak English with because they see who I truly am and they understand me more as a person than people that I only speak German with. So I don't know, if you feel that way, just know you're not alone, and if you don't feel that way, then lucky you, I guess. Point number 4 is that there will be a honeymoon phase. You will arrive, everything will be shiny and new and taste delicious, and the wine will just hit differently, and everything will be great, and it'll be the best decision you ever made. And ride that wave as long as you can, because it is a good feeling, and eventually it will fade. And that doesn't mean that you made some huge mistake or that you should turn around and go home because that feeling fades. It just means that you're in a place long enough that you can truly settle in and you can truly appreciate the lifestyle that that particular place allows you to have, with the good and the bad. Really take that honeymoon time to try the food, meet the people, get oriented in your new city, be bold and be brave, because eventually it won't feel so shiny and new, and you may even be a little homesick, you may be struggling at some point, and those connections that you make in the beginning will help you get through to the next bit of happiness, because it really is just part of any life. When you move to a new place, eventually it will get mundane, it will slow down, and even though you're in this new amazing foreign place, it's still eventually you're getting up, you're going to work, you're going to get your groceries, you're cooking your dinner, you're going to bed. Like there may be a time when you're there long enough that you will reach that point, and that's perfectly normal and fine. But just, I mean, enjoy that honeymoon phase because it's so nice. The next thing that I think you should be prepared for is that moving abroad can be really isolating. You're kind of in limbo at times between the life you you had and the people that you love from home, and these new people that are exciting and you want to get to know, but you may not always understand. So it's easy to feel like you're kind of caught in this in-between zone, and that's totally normal. And again, with the language point, if you can't communicate fully what you want to say, it can be really isolating at times. But at the same time, you know, that's so normal and natural. And even though it sucks, I guess all I want you to know is that you're not alone, and there's communities of expats and foreigners in any city, and you can totally find them, and they will commiserate on those things and crack jokes about that weird local quirk that you just can't get over. And there's also people that you will meet in the local culture that if you let them and you ask them the right questions and you're open to their experiences, they will show you some really incredible things and pull you more and more in to their circles. But it does take time, and it takes you being open. And if you're even considering moving abroad, you have something in you. You have some kind of spark and calling to go and to put yourself out on that branch, and I totally think that that's a great thing. And you know, remember who you are. Remember that you are that badass that moved halfway around the world for X, Y, and Z, and don't forget it. Like, that's an incredible thing to do. The last point that I just want to make while I have you here is that it's really easy to put expectations on your timeline. Like, whether you're there for 3 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years, whatever your timeline is, it's easy to feel like, okay, I need to see this, I need to do this, try this food, I need to go to this restaurant, I need to see this museum. And that's all great, and you should totally go out and do as many of those things as you possibly can. But you also shouldn't put too much pressure on your timeline, because the number one experience that you're there to have is to, you know, immerse yourself in that culture. And, you know, if you miss a museum, you miss a landmark, it's okay. You're gonna walk away, and you may not always remember every single thing that you did, but you're gonna remember the overarching theme of the experience. So focusing on that is really important, and not putting too much pressure on it, because it's easy to, oh my gosh, I'm leaving in a month, I have to go do this, and drive yourself crazy, and you're like starting to mourn the loss of yourself in that place. And anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. If you're watching this, you're probably only just thinking about moving abroad, and I just want you to remember that no matter what you get done, it's gonna be epic, and you're gonna remember it and take amazing pictures and have a great time. This video is actually gonna be part of like a little mini sort of series that I'm doing this winter. So the next video that I'm making is gonna be about using your education to move abroad, because I think that that's a really good tool. And so go ahead and hit subscribe now if you want to see that next week, and please leave any questions you have down below, because I really am so happy to help anyone who wants to move abroad. I know that this video is probably not going to help anyone this year, because life's crazy right now and we can't go anywhere, but maybe in the future it'll help you. And now's the time to get your wheels turning and to start saving if you can. Like, you know, if there's anything we've learned from the pandemic, it's that there are no rules, and you know, there are no timelines, and you better just figure out what's important to you and go after it, because life is short. Anyway, before I get too deep, I'm gonna leave it here. Thank you all so much for watching. Like I said, I will link my playlist to other living abroad videos down below. Thanks again. Bye.